What are some ads that like you see where you're like, yeah, no, that's not me? Do you have any of those?
I get pickleball content all the time because I went to one pickleball center one time. I hated it. I lost in a humiliating way. I have no hand-eye coordination. You should know that about me. Like, don't throw anything at me that I'm supposed to catch. It'll hit me in the face. Welcome to Fieldnotes, the show where we break down what's happening in marketing.
And today we're actually going to break down the ICP, the persona. It's a big piece of our loop marketing playbook. It's a foundation for the express phase. How do you define who you're trying to reach, and how do you bring that to your entire marketing strategy? So I'm excited to jump into it.
Yeah, let's jump right in, Kyle. Tell us what an ICP is for those who
What is
don't
an
know.
ICP? Yeah, they see it in their feeds and we all talk about it, right?
Yeah.
Ideal customer profile, right? And we want to be able to, when you're building out your marketing and comm strategy, you have to know who you're talking to.
That's a really clear definition. And I think it's actually really important because we surveyed over 300 marketers and only 48% of them have a clear, well-documented ICP, which means half of the marketing teams in the world are running around without an understanding of who they are actually talking to. If you want to hear more from the survey, then scan the QR code. I think there are going to be a lot of really helpful insights. And we're going to go more into it today. You started to touch on a little bit, but like, how does the ICP fit into the loop?
In that loop framework, right, we have the express phase where you start in the top left, and it's like defining who you're speaking to and defining your brand voice. We talk about this a lot where it's like, I need to define my audience first before I define my brand, because you don't want to like push something onto the market without knowing who it's for.
Totally.
So what we're like trying to figure out as a team is what data points are most important. How do we collect all of those? And how do you actually create an ideal customer profile that the entire team understands? To your point, it's like, I need my marketers to understand it. I need my sales team to understand it, my success team. Like, who are we actually for? And getting really focused on that's going to help you in every other decision you make in your marketing strategy, coming to the content, the channels you use, et cetera. So we actually spend a lot of time in the research and like the definition phase up front.
I remember that back in the old days of HubSpot, Brian Halligan, our former CEO, he used to have a teddy bear that he had named after our persona, and he would bring the teddy bear into meetings. And then when there was a decision to be made, he would turn to the teddy bear and he would say, what do you think? And it was a really cheesy but concrete way of making sure that the customer was front and center and that the persona was a part of every decision we made, big and small. So let's talk about like how to define your ICP. You mentioned data. That's important.
Sure.
Where are you going to get that data? What type of data is it?
Depending on your company size, you're going to have access to different things and different pieces of information. So in the ICP space, it's really like focus more on B2B. It's like, what is the target company that we're going after that we want to sell into? What industry are they in? What's the size of the company? What are some of the pain points that they're facing that we're hearing as commonalities on our sales calls or support calls? So when it comes to data you're gathering, I think there's data you can gather externally. So doing customer surveys, talking to your customers, and then there's stuff that you're already going to hopefully have in your CRM or your database around like the industry, the company size, et cetera. How can you pull all of that together into one persona? In addition to the customer surveys, the CRM data points, are there other things you think we should be pulling into the persona itself?
I think qualitative interviews are probably some of the most important and also some of the easiest to get started with. I won't lie, when I was hearing you talk just now, I was thinking, wow, that sounds long and hard. It sounds long and hard. But I think going out and talking to your customers, it's something that is relatively quick and relatively easy. And what's kind of surprising, you and I have both been doing more calls with our customers over the past year or so. Customers really want to get on the phone with you.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
Like
they want to share what they're going through.
They want to share what they're going through. So I think one thing that folks could do if they are part of that 52%, I was like, did I do that math right? I did. They're part of that 52% that doesn't have a clear, well-documented ICP. Like, pick out your top 5 customers and ask them if you can spend 30 minutes each just going through what's going on with them.
And on those calls now, right, we can use AI tools to create a transcript from that call if they're open to that. And then you can actually use their own words and their own feedback when you're developing it. Because I think one of the things that's helped us over the last year is leveraging an LLM to find insights for us.
Huge. If I can actually take what you said and raise that, I would take the AI transcripts, I would feed those conversations from those 5 customer calls into ChatGPT, into Claude, and I would say, define an ICP for me.
Right.
Like, here's what we know demographically about these customers. Here's what we learned qualitatively. Turn it into something for me. And this is what AI is so good at.
So good at. Yeah, it's the insights. And a lot of it too is unstructured data for the most part, right? Just like calls with folks.
Right.
And that's where we've been trying to figure this out, especially in HubSpot Media, because we serve different audience segments, different personas. It's like, okay, well, we have the customer survey results. We have some call transcripts from folks we've spoken to. We have our own like content data, what's performing, what's doing well, what seems to resonate with the audience. And feeding all of that into the knowledge base for an LLM is all context for it.
Yeah.
And then you can start to ask those questions. Okay, who am I speaking to?
Yes.
What are their pain points? What do they seem to care about most? Like, what are the themes you're seeing? Which would take us hours, weeks as a team
months.
Before. Right, months, especially when you're doing it at scale.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where we're getting is like, go out and pretty much find all the data you need to make a great ICP or persona, and then partner with that AI to help pull those insights and write it.
You can say, hey, go into the Claude project where all that data lives. Will this resonate with my ICP?
Yeah.
Or will she hate it?
But it is so helpful for the team to run ideas past it, right? So it's like, okay, we've collected the data, we've analyzed it, we've defined the ICP. The enablement piece is the other one we'll get into, is like, once I have that ICP and I'm able to create it, it's in there, and the marketers can start to have conversations with that knowledge base and that persona and say, okay, is this campaign, is this piece of content something that would resonate with this audience? How should I position it? What type of words should I use? And I know we'll get into
how should I tweak it to make it more successful? Like, it's not just binary. It's okay, maybe this does resonate. How can I make it as impactful as possible? It's basically like an on-demand free focus group.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
Project Teddy Bear.
Project Teddy Bear.
Coming to a computer near you.
We'll have to run that by the brand and product team.
Yeah. One thing that I really want to ask you about, we have been saying ICP, we've been saying persona, we haven't said TAM, but that's also a word that comes up all the time when we're talking about these things between ourselves and customers.
Yeah.
What do those 3 things mean in relation to each other?
Yeah, it's a good question because we get tripped up on it internally too, right? So TAM, total addressable market. So what are we going after as a business?
All the people that could be interested in your product or service.
Customers, right? Then you go down to ICP where you're figuring out, okay, and this is more in the B2B world, but like, what is the good fit business that I should be targeting? Am I looking for construction companies in the mid-market in the Northeast United States? And you're really getting into this level of detail around, okay, like, where do I have the most revenue potential?
Okay.
And define that ICP. And also, I think what's important, I just talked about like the business, but who's the decision maker in that business that we want to be talking to? If you're selling a marketing software, a lot of times that's the director of marketing or the head of marketing. And so
Hit me up.
Yeah, right. And so that's where the ICP level is. The third layer down is like the persona. And I think that's really important because you're going to have different campaigns and content strategies based on the personas. If you're going after a certain company, they may have a buying committee. Like the director of marketing plays a role, but the head of IT also plays a role.
Sure.
And maybe the head of sales is part of this committee. Those people have very different careers. They have very different day-to-day jobs. They have very different pain points. That's the persona level, is like, okay, who's the individual that I'm trying to communicate with and what do they care about?
So the TAM is the broadest possible layer and the persona is the most specific layer. And then ICP kind of lives in the middle.
That's right.
And it sounds like it's really important to understand the characteristics and the number of people that fall into each.
Definitely. Especially for like planning your business, but also for your content. And I'm using content broadly, whether it's like owned, paid, the language you use in your communications matters, right? Marketers know about CPL and ROAS, right?
But cost per lead, return on ad spend.
Right.
Yeah.
Where sellers care about quota and President's Club and pipeline. And so you just need to get really specific on like, who am I talking to? And having those layers and an understanding of how big they are also lets you like prioritize on what you're doing. But I do think it's critically important to do all this work up front.
Okay. So if someone's just getting started, what are the data points that they need to go get? What are the characteristics of a really good ICP?
Yeah. So on the ICP, we mentioned that being more the B2B persona that you're trying to build out.
And explain that. Why is that more B2B?
Because when you're selling into like B2B, a lot of times there's a buying committee and like there's folks you need to influence. And also a lot of your campaigns and your communications are based on industry or company size or job profile, seniority. So those are all the things you want to be able to figure out, right? So whether that's in your CRM, whether that's going out to LinkedIn and understanding target companies in your market, but that's the information you want to bring in is actually more of that firmographic data where it's like industry, location, seniority, job profile, and getting specific. Like, is this a director of marketing at a manufacturing company in the Northeast? Which I meant, like, that's what you want to pull in. How do you start to get that information? I think is really important. So if you don't have a CRM, right? How do you get started? I think you can
get a HubSpot CRM.
Get HubSpot.
That's the answer.
That's the answer. But you would go out and like LinkedIn's a great place to start mining. I think in B2B, if you have sales transcripts, a lot of information comes in there around the type of company, the job profile, the person who's like seeking information.
Yeah.
Pulling that all in to help you define that ICP.
I like that a lot, but I have to imagine that if someone doesn't have a CRM or doesn't have a lot of data in their CRM, they don't have call transcripts either.
Yeah.
I wonder if they could start with Reddit.
Sure.
I see a lot of people asking on Reddit, like, hey, what are your pain points? If I was designing a solution for this industry, like what would you be really interested in? It doesn't just have to be Reddit. You could do that, to your point, on LinkedIn. You could be on Instagram. You could even, I think, go to Claude or ChatGPT and say, hey, I want to design a problem in this space, or I want to design a solution in this space. You know, help me understand the market trends and the most common personas or the most common ICPs, depending on whether it's B2B or B2C.
Yeah, I think like we were just going to wrap it up. It's like social, communities, and customers. And like if you, from our earlier talk, it's like, well, just get on the phone with someone.
Right.
Get on the phone with someone, talk to them, get that transcript. That's a great data layer.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm seeing on social. Here's what I'm saying in the communities. Here's the conversations I've had. Package that up, work with the LLM and say, okay, let's start to define this ICP, something that's tangible that I can either use in my software or I can share with my team.
So what's an example of a decision where HubSpot's ICP, her name is Growth Gabby. We know her. We
know
love
her
her.
well.
Yeah, she's AI forward. She's very experimental. She's an executive in marketing, typically. What's a decision that you and your team are working through where you're like, would Gabby like this?
For my team, it's like content strategy, right? So we work with your team on topic coverage, topic selection, but then there's like an altitude decision around like how do we cover that topic?
Right.
Do you cover it at the 101 level? Like how to set up a Facebook page, which we should have content like that. And we do have content like that in our portfolio. But Gabby's probably set up quite a few Facebook pages
has a
in
Facebook
her day,
business page locked and loaded.
She is generating leads and revenue from her meta ads. She's looking for more advanced, right?
301.
301. And so that's a decision you're going to make when you're content planning. Okay, who is the buyer? What do they actually care about? And there's nothing wrong with covering different topics or audiences, but I think doing this work up front lets you get really, really specific. What channels am I going to use to reach this audience? What content am I going to produce for them? Okay,
so we've talked about what customer data you want to upload, but there's another piece of the puzzle that I think is also really important, which is information about your company and your products.
For sure. Yeah, we're so focused on like audience first, right?
Yeah.
And like getting
to audience first.
To audience first. Gosh, is there another way to do it? But the other piece of this is like, can you bring in your own product, your own services, your own features, your own pricing? Because we talked about the LLM being able to find insights from the data you're uploading. It's also going to be able to find connections between like what you offer and what your audience is. So once you start to have those conversations, you and I talk a little bit about like enablement or decision making, having that data in there as well is helpful because it's going to make those connections for you. The other thing we talked about is you load all this stuff into an LLM to help you find insights. The other piece is like, how do you actually enable your team to do it? Right? It's not just like a PDF we're passing around. How do you do that on your team?
I ask them to use the Claude project for every new project. So we have a Claude project for Growth Gabby. They're always in there asking questions, asking decisions. I think another really easy way to get this incorporated into your day-to-day routine, so you're not even thinking like, are we thinking about the persona?
Sure.
At least in HubSpot, you can save your persona to your portal. And so then when you're publishing new content, there are these automatic almost QA checks that will tell you whether it makes sense with your ICP.
I think that's one thing we've noticed in like HubSpot Media is once you define the ICP and you load it into whatever tool you're using, it almost becomes like a quality assurance thing for your team where your marketers, no matter where they are in the company, if they're new, if they've been here for 10 years, it just aligns folks on, okay, who are we talking to? What do they care about? And then like the copy that I'm creating, whether it's for an ad, a landing page, whatever, yes, it's on our tone of voice. Yes, it's for this person we're trying to reach. And I think that's been an unlock for us. It's just consistency.
For more insights on how marketers are defining and using their ICPs, then don't forget to check out the free report. We talked to over 300 marketers and there's some really good insights. So scan that QR code.
Scan it, please.
Scan it, please.
It's about that time.
Oh, I've been waiting.
The last word, the segment where we're going to talk about something we are passionate about, marketing or otherwise, but something you have a take on in 30 seconds. I've been asked to be a hardliner. You only have 30 seconds. I will cut you off.
Let's do it.
All right. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. I'm going to start the timer on you.
Okay. My last word, let's get rid of the resume. I don't want to send another resume. I don't want to read another resume. It's an obsolete artifact.
I agree.
Okay, here's what I'm doing. When I'm like thinking about someone for a job, I pull up their resume, I look at their current title, and then I close their resume.
Right.
Because that's all I really need to know if you are a potential good fit for this job. And then I'm going to talk to you. Yeah. And I'm going to actually figure out if you're a good fit for the job. The resume has no place in the modern world.
No.
Let's cut them.
Boom. 2 seconds under. Well done.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you. 28 was all I needed.
Completely agree. I don't need the details.
Don't need the details.
If you're credible, you have the experience, like, let's get on the phone.
I only needed 28. Let's see if you can do it.
All right. I'll try to come in under.
Ready, set, go.
All right. So while most remote team activities are cringe, they are forced family fun, right?
So bad.
The March Madness bracket for pop culture is incredible.
For pop culture,
so
say more.
Movies, favorite candy, album. AJ on our team is incredible at this. He'll build out brackets for the team. We go through votes and we find the top candy bar on the team. They're not cringe. People are passionate. You get to learn about their interests and it's super fun. There's a competitiveness to it. That's my take. It's the only one that works.
I love it. You win and over, but I'll allow it because I really love it and I want to join. Next bracket.
We'll invite you for
me,
sure.
Please do.
This has been an episode of Fieldnotes, the show where we break down what's happening in marketing and how you can apply it yourself. I'm Kyle Denhoff.
And I'm Aja Frost. We will see you here next time.
I get hit with all these apps to like improve your day. You got to have your meditation in the morning at 5 and then do your ice. I'm like, I don't want any of this.